Well, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to our video on conjunction. Today we are going to be doing conjunction of Sun, Moon and Ketu. Meaning Sun, Moon and the south node of the Moon, Ketu. And what happens when these three planets are conjunct in your horoscope. And we're going to pretend that these three planets are very closely conjunct. So the meaning of the conjunction will be very solid. Most of the time, people don't really have these three planets conjunct together. Sometimes 2 out of the 3 might be conjunct because the zodiac sign is 30 degrees long and a planet might be at 3 degrees, the other planet might be at 7 degrees, the other planet might be at 18 degrees. So that conjunction kind of like just fizzles out. What the conjunction that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to pretend that whoever's watching this, they have a very tight conjunction. So if you feel like, well, this conjunction is not really accurate for me, look at the degrees of your planets. 99.9% of the time, the degrees of one of the other planets will be far away. So the two planets that are conjunct together will be far more effective with each other. And as always, if you do not know what conjunctions you have in your horoscope, what planets conjunct your nodes in the horoscope, for that check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including my books Astrology, Conjunction and Aspects of the Speed of Light, including the new magazine on Destiny and Careers. And especially on the second page, you'll see exactly at the bottom in the box where each planet is placed. So Sun, Moon and Ketu. Last time we did Sun, Moon and Rahu. And did you know, in reality, Rahu and Ketu are pretty much the same thing. In the higher consciousness, Rahu, Ketu become one. Because this is why in the divinal charts, in certain divinal charts past like D30 and D45, D60, Saturn or Rahu, Ketu are conjunct with each other, which is unheard of. Because Rahu, Ketu are always opposite to each other. But in certain divinal charts that go higher up in consciousness, they become one. Rahu, Ketu are the same thing. They're always trying to misdirect us. Simple. They're always trying to separate us from our element. One does the other way, one does the other way in our three-dimensional Maya. But in reality, they're pretty much the same thing. It's like one villain who was cut in half. So one does a bad thing here, the other does bad thing here. But in reality, if it was one, it'll be the same thing. So Sun, as you know, represents our father, authoritative figure, our ego, our self-esteem. Sun represents government, the great authoritative figures. Moon represents our emotions, how we feel inside. Moon represents our mother. It's our mind. Motherly figures in the world. And then what is Ketu? Ketu represents liberation. Surrendering to your consciousness. Ketu is about things that we have experienced in past life. Ketu is about detachment. Ketu is about letting go of the material world. Material relationships. Where Rahu wants the material things, he wants the material relationships. Ketu is the opposite. But in a way, they're the same because they both want to give suffering from these things. Because sometimes a person can have all the money in the world, yet they feel lonely, they feel depressed. This is why most celebrities, sometimes commit suicide because they realize that Rahu is not what's giving them happiness. But then Ketu here, what it does when it's conjunct these three planets is that there's dissatisfaction from upbringing of the parents or dissatisfaction from the way your parents brought you in life. There's this detachment from the nourishment of mother and father. You feel like the relationship with the mother and father is something that you just don't seem to relate to. You feel like you've already experienced a great relationship in the past. In this time, you just feel like you just want to separate yourself from your mother and father. Shows that there could be a sudden separation from mother and father in life as well. And the relationship with the mother and father usually doesn't materializes until after the age of 42. You know how some people have a bad relationship with their mother and father, but only after the age of 42 somehow it just becomes better. People reconnect because of the fact after age of 42 Ketu matures. Rahu and Ketu mature. They finally are like, maybe we shouldn't give this person that suffering. Maybe it's not the right thing to do. But this is a very important part because you want to see what sign Ketu and Rahu are conjunct in with these planets. So if Sun, Moon, Rahu or Sun, Moon, Ketu are conjunct in a good sign, let's say in Aries, Sun, Ketu and Moon are conjunct in Aries. What happens with these Rahu and Ketu? They amplify the energy of the planet and their qualities, the way their qualities are. So Sun being exalted shows that your ego, your self-esteem was just always there. And you never cared to display it. You never cared to be arrogant in public with your ego. Because you know, I'm confident, I am who I am. And shows that the father was very spiritual person. Mother and father were both very spiritual person. But yet mother became more angry than the father when it comes to parenting you. She was more strict with you. She was more disciplined with you. Where father taught you in a very sattvic way, mother may have taught you in a more tamasic way. So this is where the sign placement of these planets become very important. To really see what is this conjunction exactly doing for us. But mainly what Ketu does, he detaches you from money, from material relationships. Ketu's influence on certain houses can show a person really would love to be a monk than be part of the society. So here the ego, soul, mind, self-esteem takes a long time to develop. A person has a very confused time growing up trying to understand who they are. We all are something. I mean, I can meet somebody who has Rahu, Ketu or Sun, Moon, Ketu conjunction in a party and they will talk to me. They will display a certain set of, ego and self-esteem, but internally they have no idea who they are. They're just detached from their mind and their soul, and they're trying to figure that out. And in trying to figuring that out, most of the time a person wants to connect to the spiritual world. They want to connect themselves to the other side to really see, hey, look, I cannot find any answers about myself in this realm. Maybe I need to connect to the other realm. So these people you will find really are like very spiritual people who want to join, like meditation groups, yoga groups, want to go towards occult mysticism. Mind is extremely intuitive and psychic. Because Ketu is a psychic planet. And when it's conjunct the mind is getting these messages that they do not understand unless they are progressing themselves towards that psychic powers. So which requires a guru to understand those things. You will see that these three planets, if they are in the sign of Pisces or in any water signs, mother and father are very spiritual people. They're very emotionally connected to the spiritual world. So your upbringing becomes very spiritual here. Moon with Ketu and Sun in the sign of Cancer shows that one received extreme amount of spiritual emotional connection with their parents. But then again, in certain water signs, that can show that a person received extreme amount of detachment from their mother and son. So this becomes a this conjunction cannot be just simplified by its meaning. This Ketu conjunction or Rahu have to be really looked at in the house and the sign that they're placed in to see what is it really doing, because exalted Sun and Ketu can show your father is your best friend. exalted moon and Ketu can show your mother is just your everything, from your spiritual teachings to your material teachings to your emotional teachings. Mother and father have a great sense. So depending upon which sign is placed in, one thing I've always seen is that one or the other planet is suffering. So either here a person will be mainly connected to the father and may not be emotionally connected to the mother, or maybe connected to the mother fully and not father fully. This is something I've seen way too many times. Because even when I do consultation, I ask people whenever I get this conjunction, can you just email me and let me know, are you connected to this person more than the other? Sometimes it may be the opposite, but it always is the opposite. It's never like, no, I'm connected to both. Either it'll be detachment from both or attachment to one. So quite a complicated conjunction to understand, but this is a conjunction that mainly, if you want to know one thing about this conjunction, it can lead a person to a spiritual liberation. Especially if it's in the 12th, 1st, 4th, and 8th house. You can see this person will eventually go into some sort of a mystical and spiritual lifestyle. They may be lawyers, they may be doctors, but somehow they are, by age of 42, they're getting themselves integrated into a spiritual life. So for people who want to be like tarot card readers, psychic readers, who want to go into astrology, numerology, who want to go towards research related to the mystical side of the world, secretive side of the world, this conjunction is the most powerful tool you have with you. But, there's always a good thing and there's always a bad thing with these conjunctions. Good thing could be your mystical side, your intuitive side is very strong. Bad thing is your relationship could suffer from either of the parents. Or in general, your sense of self, your sense of ego, your mind, body, soul will be realized quite late in life. Otherwise, you'll be like in a dark cemetery, you're just running around trying to find your way out. Because this Ketu and Moon conjunction, especially with the Moon, can show unnecessary fear, just like Rahu. Can show that they dream of things, they see things that they just don't want to see. So if Rahu is like this morning mist and fog that you're running to find a road so you can find your way home, Ketu is like one is running through the cemetery and towards the evening, and they want to get out of there. They want to find their way to the main gate. And the fears keeps them running, keeps them going. So internally, they're always running to find themselves. Okay? So guys, this was my analysis of Sun, Moon, Ketu conjunction. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know where your planets are placed, if you have this conjunction, for that, check out the links here. And check out my full astrological report, my books, and consultations. Otherwise, we're going to see you tonight in the evening with the class from Juan Paul Manley on double transits of Jupiter and Saturn at 6 p.m. California time. So don't miss it. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.